They gave that identity principle to the number one. And that has been the stumbling block for mathematicians because it's what's held everybody behind. Am I wrong?
Yeah, you're wrong if we do it that way.
Is anything that he's saying correct?
When I say 1 times 1 equals 2, that's a metaphor for challenging the status quo. Despite the fact that the square root of 2 has all of its issues when you cube it or you multiply it by 2, which creates a contradiction, despite the fact that the square root of 2 has a problem with the prime numbers, the fact that they call number 2 a prime number, when it's clearly a composite number. Any other prime number, and I'll jump into this, any prime number that you subtract from another prime number, you always get a composite number, except with the situation of the number 2. And there's so many people and that's why the prime numbers are unpredictable, because of that problem associated. So there's been a problem with 2 for so long.
2 is different. I mean, you will find that mathematicians will often talk about proving something for characteristic not equal to 2. So they'll single out 2 as being just very, very different. So look that up when we're done.
Yeah, but why? But why would they do
because
that?
in part of what you're saying, the prime 2, it does belong as a prime, but it is also special. And in other words, I have the opportunity to strawman you if I want to, because what you just said sounded crazy. And I also have the possibility to steelman you. So all the algebraic topologists who just heard, for characteristic not equals to 2, they're like saying, yeah, that's fair. And so in part, by just jumping into the middle of this, we don't have the benefit of putting your best foot forward because, if you say 1 times 1 equals 2, everybody knows that that's crazy. But what you actually may mean, and what the fact that you don't use certain terms or the fact that you use certain pronunciations that communicate to me something very positive, which is that you taught yourself. You learned this stuff from reading about it because nobody taught you or you wouldn't pronounce certain words the way you pronounce them.
True.
Yeah.
True.
So, in part, you always have the ability to make fun of somebody who pronounces a word the way it's read on the page. And then you also have the opportunity to say, holy cow, that guy actually taught himself. That's more impressive. And
right.
So in part, what I want to do is I want to start by giving you your best foot forward and see if I even understood what you said when you went into this whole flower of life riff that becomes your larger theory. And the only way I know how to do this is to see whether or not I actually grasped it. Because I also had to spend some time. I didn't spend a ton of time, but my time is valuable. Your time is valuable. Mm-hmm. So let's do this thing.
Yeah. So I'll follow your lead.
All right.
What's going on with the number 2?
The CIA is in charge of the number.
What's up with 2?
2 is different. Because of what he said, the fact that the even-odd distinction.
Isn't that odd, though, that 2 is different? What a strange thing.
The problem that's associated with the number 2 is because of the identity principle, which I call the Jim Crow laws of mathematics. That A times 1 equals. I know you don't want to go into it yet.
No. Let's get into it.
Just as a base.
You're going right into his neighborhood.
Just as a base.
You're in the mathematical hood right now,
trying to keep the black man down.
No, you have Marie von Franz, who argued about the problems associated with the identity principle. You got Kurt Gödel, who talked about it. You got Wells. All of them said it made everything incommensurable just because they gave that identity principle to the number 1. And that has been the stumbling block for mathematicians because it's what's held everybody behind because they keep trying to make that work. Am I wrong?
Yeah, you're wrong if we do it that way. In other words, I can take... We can do one of two things.
Is anything that he's saying correct?
Terrence has several influences, which, again, I don't think it's clear to me. I have to ask him questions to find out whether I'm even right. Look, one of the problems is I may be wrong about my model of Terrence. This is the first time I'm meeting him. I didn't know who he was before the podcast. And I need to know whether or not I'm even building the right model of Terrence, because otherwise it's just silly to have me here, and I'm going to critique what I built in my own mind from Terrence's words.
Right.
What I would love, what I was hoping is that you would be able to explain your geometric unity model
That's a different day. This is about you.
Okay, then all right, then.
But you guys could definitely get it. That could be a whole nother podcast. But what about what he was saying is incorrect just now?
He's saying things that are often at a level that are allegorical, and you could make them. So Terrence sometimes mentions something called category theory, right? And there's a weird way in which category theory can take something that seems to be an analogy and make it precise and powerful, right? So you can have two systems that don't look the same, and you spot an analogy between them, and then you say, holy cow, there's an exact mapping of one system onto another in which it was unexpected that those are the same structure. So for example, we're going to get into something about multiplication where Terrence has an issue with multiplication. But to the best of my knowledge, you don't have an issue with addition.
I don't have an issue. I don't have an issue with multiplication either.
Well, then 1 times 1 is what?
1 times 1 should equal 2. And action times an action. If you can show me one place in the universe.
But you just shifted frames.
No. Show me one place in the universe, one natural observable phenomenon where 1 times 1 equals 1, where an action times an action doesn't have a reaction.
So then you just went into some. There's a concept called logomachy, which is arguing over words. And what you want is not to be caught. If I can beat you in a word game, or you can beat me in a word game.
You can beat me in a word game. I didn't go to MIT.
You can beat me in a word game.
By
the way, I heard you with B.B. King, where he was having trouble improvising on the spot, and your mind just rescued him with a partial rhyme. I really appreciate that because he's one of my favorites.
Yeah, he invited me to do a show.
That was a big deal.
I got to play with him.
Wow.
I was scared to play guitar though with him. I should have put out the guitar.